to notice things that are suspicious.
To the media circus. In a week where APEC kicked off with all the leaders gathering for a photograph dressed in traditional Chinese-made clothing. And competing this week for Team Australia, please welcome Andrew Hansen, Tom Gleeson, and social researcher and host of RN Drive, Rebecca Huntley. Yes. And they're up against the checkout Scott Abbott, Studio 10 Sarah Harris, and the contractually obliged Chris Taylor. You are Team Putin tonight, so good luck with that. Right. And as always, our fact checker is Chaz Licciardello. All right, let's get into the news game.
Round one.
And this week, Prime Minister Abbott finally had his much-anticipated meeting with Vladimir Putin at APEC. It was so hyped, of course, because of this comment.
I'm going to shirt front, Mr. Putin. You bet you are. You bet I am.
Which was slightly watered down when he got to APEC.
Good on Russia for saying that.
Yeah! That's how you confront a superpower. Tough, bold rhetoric like that. That's exactly how Ronald Reagan won the Cold War.
Come here to this gate. Mr. Gorbachev.
Good on Russia.
Still, there's no doubt that Tony Abbott made shirt fronting famous.
Since the phrase shirt front was used, I understand it's now entered the diplomatic lexicon of many countries.
Yes. In diplomatic circles, shirt front means threatening to give someone a dressing down before humiliating yourself by dressing up in a silly costume with the very same person.
A lot of people have compared that to Star Trek, that photo, but I think it's not alien enough. I think if you put a Klingon there, he would be the least remarkable of the three figures.
I'm a little bit worried that it's actually Madame Tussauds. Like, if you look at Putin, he looks like he's made of wax.
It's actually Renee Zellweger.
Oh.
He looks a bit like the doctor from the Human Centipede, doesn't he? I'm going to sew you together.
It's like Abbott's kind of looking and saying, whoever designed these clothes, they deserved a fashion college scholarship much more than my daughter ever did.
When the Abbott-Putin meeting finally happened, it was behind closed doors, and I think we know the real reason they met in secret.
I'm happy to come with Tony Abbott to any meeting with Putin to sort out what has happened here.
No! Anything but that! There was no way, though, that he could live up to the shirt front comment. Like, you know, once he'd said that, no matter what happened at APEC, we're going to be disappointed, weren't we?
I think it's good to see some personality, though, back in politics, don't you think? Everything is so spun and, you know,
By personality, you mean threatening to punch people?
Yeah. Bring back the bit.
Going back to the APEC uniforms, they were so worried that there would be a shirt fronting that they deliberately designed the heaviest, thickest shirts so no one could shirt front anyone.
Yeah. Yeah. It was safe because the shirts don't look like they have a front.
Yeah.
They actually quite symmetric in appearance, like they knew, and that's why he had that look on his face. Yeah. He's like, "Where's the front? Isn't it?" You know, he probably would lick his hand and check where the breathing was coming from.
All these meetings with international leaders in the G20 are big stories, but are they the biggest stories in our news bulletins? Let's find out as Sarah Harris plays.
Ooh. That's all we have time for.
All right. That's all we have time for is a game where you match up news stories with the amount of time they were actually played in a bulletin, OK? So we've got some stories here from 7 News Melbourne. Here they are.
This is 7 News.
New security measures for the G20 summit. A Channel 7 cameraman's car gets stolen. A cheetah and dog are best friends. Abbott and Dutch PM vow justice for MH17.
OK, now the stories. Now you're going to match them up with here are the durations.
I'll start with the longest first. Definitely Channel 7 carjacking. It actually was compelling television.
It was a great, yeah.
Seeing a bloke...
Was it Channel 10 doing the carjacking?
Actually,
No.
given the budget cuts here at the ABC, it'll probably be us next week. Quickly get that car!
Yeah, so that's definitely the longest.
Yeah, that's definitely
4 minutes. 4 minutes worth, you reckon?
Yeah, absolutely,
Okay.
yeah. G20 security on 2 minutes.
I'd agree with that.
Do you know what? I think they would have allocated 34 seconds to Abbott Meets the Dutch.
Is it what, because it's a political story?
There seems to be some sort of story fatigue when stories go on too long.
So if stories actually bad news stories, you get sick of seeing them.
So basically, the news cycle now isn't just 24 hours. It's pretty much every 8 hours, and even faster if you're on social media. So when a story breaks, a big story breaks, you're constantly consuming it, and you basically gorge yourself on it until you're over it. So...
Saying if it was week 4 of the carjacking, there'd only be 2 seconds.
So 34 seconds for you, Abbott Meets Dutch PM. Let's lock that in. Which means, of course, we've got 1:17 on cheetah and dog friends. I'm a little concerned that's not enough time to tell the cheetah and dog story. Let's see how you went. All right, let's start with the longest story, and well done. Yes, over 4 minutes. It was dedicated to this story where a Channel 7 cameraman had a gun pointed at his head and his car stolen and smashed. Or, as he saw it...
For a cameraman, I guess it was the sort of stuff that you sort of dream of, I guess.
It's true. Yeah. Watching that happen around him, he would have just been silently air punching.
But that's as cameramen and journos are a bit nuts. They're like, this is awesome, somebody just pointed a gun at my head.
Yeah, because you know you're going to lead the bulletin.
Although, Craig, to be fair, having a gun pointed at your head isn't nearly as scary as what Sarah had pointed at her head on Studio 10.
Oh, Jono! You need to change that angle. Close your eyes. I thought you were going to talk about the time that I pointed a nail gun at my face.
Well, surely that was that time.
For those who are interested at home, that was... What was it? It was the
no hands pants challenge.
You got to put your pants on without touching using your hands.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Is that to raise awareness for stupidity? Or?
OK, let's go to the second longest story, which was Abbott meeting with the Dutch Prime Minister there. I think... Oh, I thought you got that wrong. 2 minutes, that's quite long for a political story, though, isn't it? That's a long political story.
You know, apparently they went and planted a tree together, which maybe is why it's so long. Like,
what, because they had to wait for it to grow up?
Yeah. No, that is a scoop. It's the first time Abbott's ever done anything for the environment.
Look, I'm surprised. I would have gone the dog and the cheetah on that one. I would have gone for that one.
No, they look like Abbott and the Dutch PM to me.
Which means we have cheetah and dog and G20 security left, and of course the longest story out of those was the cheetah and dog are friends. Meaning, see the response of the audience?
That's right. You only have to look at the most read articles online to see what people want. Something with a cat in it, people will click on.
This is ABC audience. They're starved of animal stories.
Yeah.
It's like every day they turn on the news, like, more bombings in Syria. They're like, oh, man, what happened to the cheetah and the dog?
Do some follow-up, Four Corners. Are they still together? Meaning the shorter story was new security measures for the G20 summit. Thank you, Sarah. You got 2 out of 4. Well done, half right. Well done. It is amazing that a story about G20 security could be that short when there's just so much of it.
The public can now be charged for carrying banned items, including weapons, glass bottles, cans, eggs, masks, two-way radios, and remote control cars and drones.
It's illegal to carry a blowpipe, a whip, a cattle prod or reptiles.
No reptiles. No reptiles. How is this guy going to get in there? Yeah.
Seems like a... Seems like a really inconvenient way to assassinate someone. Like, you're like, all right, I'm going to drop this Komodo dragon in the G20. He's going to bite Abbott, and then we'll follow him through the forest until he dies of infection. All right, so who's in?
I hope you guys aren't implying, by the way, with all these clips, that there's overkill on security, because the Queensland Police, as far as I'm concerned, have assured us all that there is absolutely nothing to worry about at all.
If someone who lives in the area is going home with a dozen eggs to make an omelette, they will have nothing to fear from the police.
Puts me right at ease. How do you...
How do you prove that you're making an
Well,
omelette?
that's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that parsley? Have you got parsley in there?
Bacon to go with that,
Yeah,
kid.
exactly. Put down the reusable bags, son.
Why are they bad? Does anybody know why the eggs are...
Because they'll be thrown at them.
You can throw omelettes.
Well, they should crack down on they should crack down on the chicken. It's not eggs who killed him. These chickens are manufacturing the weapon.
Also this week, disputes over soldiers' pay have opened a split in the Palmer United Party. Jackie Lambie says she will no longer do what Clive Palmer says, which is strange because normally the only person that does the opposite of what Clive Palmer says is Clive Palmer. This is not the first thing they've disagreed about, though. While Lambie wants to ban the burqa, Palmer says he's very pro-multiculturalism.
Our culture is so rich and so diverse. There was a time when I was too frightened to eat calamari, but now I love it.
Look, Lambie's attacked the government for reducing soldiers' real wages when politicians' base pay has reportedly increased by 38.5% over the last 4 years. But do Australian politicians really get paid that much? Let's find out as we play...
The buck stopped here.
OK, Team Australia, it's a simple game. You just have to tell me which of these leaders is paid more. Tony Abbott or Barack Obama?
Tony Abbott.
Tony Abbott, you
Yeah,
think?
more than Barack Obama. I know
More than Barack Obama?
Yeah. It's because white people get paid more than black people, even at a global level.
Let's see if you're right. Yes, well done.
Wow.
OK, let's see. Team Putin, who gets paid more out of Jackie Lambie or the President of China?
What do you reckon?
Well, it came to me that Xi Jinping is probably in charge of slightly more people than Jackie Lambie, so if it...
Jackie Lambie's not even in charge of herself.
What about also Jackie Lambie mispronounces so many words, sometimes it sounds like she's speaking Mandarin.
But is it a case where actually, I mean, I don't know this, is the President of China not actually paid a direct salary, potentially?
Just only paid bribe.
Well, no. I wasn't going to go there. But that everything gets paid for him.
And also, like, with the President of China, like, cost of living is less because everything he buys is just cheap rubbish from China.
Jackie Lambie, let's lock
Jackie
her in.
Lambie, lock in Jackie Lambie. And that is right. Well done.
Yes.
I know. I'm just going to... Can we pass the hat around for the President of China?
Why is the President of China being paid in Australian dollars?
That's right. Look, people make fun of Jackie Lambie, but I had somebody in one of our discussion groups say either she's really awesome or completely fucked in the head. And I think... And often she's on the same day, both of those things. Like, some of the stuff she says is not, and then afterwards you're like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
And do you think she just say that thing?
But she says all the things that we're thinking but too afraid to pronounce. That's the good thing.
OK, let's go across the ditch now. Team Australia, who earns more, the Prime Minister of New Zealand or Vladimir Putin?
Well, New Zealand is very, very tiny. It's only about the size of Geelong. How much does the mayor of Geelong
It's
earn?
not true. Given the trope that we've been going on, we would say it's Mr. Key rather than Mr. Putin.
But also, I've seen a lot of photos of Putin and he can only afford trousers. So, doesn't have much money. Yeah.
I think it's John Key.
You think John Key gets more?
Yes.
Let's see. Well done, John Key gets more than Vladimir Putin. New Zealand's Prime Minister John Key is amongst the world's best paid politicians, although that's mostly just Lord of the Rings royalties. Yes, Chaz?
Craig, that's actually only half the story because Vladimir Putin was interviewed last year and he said, I am the wealthiest man, not just in Europe, but in the whole world. I collect emotions. So his salary is actually $234,000 plus emotions.
Oh, that's different. Wow. He is also meant to be the richest kind of politician in the world. He's got like 70 million...
Emotions.
Even more than Berlusconi.
Yes.
He collects emotions.
Yeah,
Most of them require a lot of wiping up afterwards.
And that brings us to the end of round one, and the winner is Team Australia. Congratulations. On the basis, I'll be quite slightly unfair basis that they got extra questions.
That's true. How did that happen?
That's right. No, I don't know.
News School, Lesson 38. Running after people who don't want to talk to you. Everyone except a current affair can leave. Now, it's not a real interview unless you're out of breath. Tim Arvia, you try.
Steve, Tim from A Current Affair. We'd like to ask you some questions about your neighbours. Can you justify your actions, Steve? How do you explain your behaviour?
Good effort. Martin King, here's a slightly faster interview subject for you.
Come on, Robert. It's your sister.
Bravo. Chris Allen, for you, a most daunting interviewee. A defenceless schoolboy on a couch.
When we try to talk to Connor, he takes off.
I'm Chris from Channel 9. We just wondered if we could have a chat to you. Your mum's really worried about you. Will you talk to us? She's just concerned about your behaviour. She wants to help you. You sure you don't want to talk to us, Connor?
A+. And here's a medal for your courage. Tim Arvia, I'll give you one more chance to match your classmates.
You're a serial pervert con man, aren't you? That's who you are.
Come on.
No, Arvia. You chase the subject, not the other way around.
Cops are just there.
Don't be such a pussy, Arvia. Fail. Straight to detention.
Round 2.
Crime stories make up so much of our bulletins that one of the most popular characters we see on the evening news is the police officer. Yet for all the practice cops get talking to reporters, they haven't yet learned to speak in clear English. So instead of saying, a man tried to attack us with a knife, so we shot him, they say...
The male person has produced an edged weapon, and as a result of that violence being offered to our members, the Victoria Police member has discharged a single shot from his firearm.
And this week in Queensland, someone was arrested not for allegedly making a bomb, but for allegedly making...
Number of concoctions that had the propensity to explode.
So now it's time for male persons Chris Taylor and Andrew Hansen to hold their very own police press conference as we play...
Totally PC.
All right, guys, I'm going to give you some stories from the news and you have to talk about them entirely in police language, OK? All right, firstly, Constable Chris, Coca-Cola are going to release a new low-sugar flavour.
At this particular point in time, we believe the Coca-Cola company has willful intent to release a beverage, liquid in nature, and whose sugar content is reported to be travelling in a southerly direction.
Detective Inspector Andrew, the Rolling Stones cancelled another one of their Australian concerts. Discuss.
4 Caucasian male persons, geriatric in age, and believed to be armed with stringed instruments. Have implemented a tactical withdrawal from operations musical in nature.
All right, Constable Chris, your last one. 2 women got married in Russia's first ever same-sex wedding.
Look, thanks to the tremendous efforts of everyone involved with Operation Moscow Fur Burger, not racist, police have been able to ascertain that a pair of women, 2 in number, engaged in a same-sex wedding of a highly gay nature. As a consequence, police this morning deployed the riot squad, or as it's known in Russia, the Pussy Riot Squad, to investigate the scene or scenes of the crime or crimes and carry out arrests of the women or women's involved. No further questions. Thank you very much.
Detective Inspector Andrew, there has been a controversy over a giant pink condom erected by the AIDS Council near a war memorial. Can you fill me in on those details, please?
Police have located a suspicious unattended package. Believed to be for purposes of the apprehension and incarceration of sperm. As it decamps from a male person engaged in activities of orgasmic nature. Thank you.
Thank you to our police inspectors. That is the end of the round. I declare Constable Chris from Team Putin the winner because he made the least sense. Of course, and you win this fabulous moustache. Yeah.
The Bureau of Meteorology would like to announce the new weather guidelines. One weather reporter is no longer sufficient to indicate rain. Standard rainfall is now indicated by a live cross to 3 reporters.
We are joined by 7 News reporter Emily Anwin in Melbourne. And
heavy rain is indicated by 4 reporters.
Well, we have reporters all over town tonight.
Particularly heavy rain is indicated by...
As we promised, we are everywhere the news is happening.
You guessed it, 5 reporters. Please bear this in mind when heading out in storms.
Excuse me! Excuse me! Thank you. Excuse me!
Round 3.
Political issues can be hard to understand, so bugger it, let's talk about the polls instead. Both Tony Abbott and Bill Shorten have a satisfaction rating of 37%, according to the latest news poll, which clearly has a margin of error of 37%. As the pollies say, polls come and go, but there's only one polling game that counts, and that's...
Survey says...
OK, all the usual opinion polls about politics came out this week, but the survey that hit the front pages was the second Australian study of health and relationships, Sex in Australia 2. So let's do some comparative analysis. Team Australia, this is for you. According to the published data, what does Australia have more of in percentage terms? Labor voters or old men who masturbate?
Actually, definitely old men that masturbate. Well, I only say that because I don't do a lot of work with older masturbating men. It's not like it's like based on any hard research. But the Labor vote, the wedded-on Labor vote is declining, just as the vote for the Liberal Party is declining. Yeah. So I'd say there'd be more men. In fact, there'd actually be twice as much because there'd be men over 60 lying about the masturbation that they already do.
And also, like, I'm 40 and I don't feel like stopping anytime soon. I reckon I got at least 3 decades to go.
The survey said Labor's primary vote is 36%, trailing the coalition on 38%, and old man masturbation on 46%. Well done. Although Labor's ahead of masturbation in the 2-party preferred states. So... Back to Bill Shorten. Rebecca, 37% approve of Bill Shorten. Is he cutting through? Do people like him?
I think the reality is that you've got to take that number with what the other research would show you. Our research is showing that people think he's the office boy.
Yeah.
think that Bill Shorten's the office boy. Actually don't know who he is.
Do they ask him for a cup of tea and that sort of thing?
Yeah, they would. If you showed him a picture, they'd go, who's that guy? And also, of course, the thing is you've got to think about that, you know, the choice between, you know, 2 people that you don't particularly like. That's a bad reading, both for Tony Abbott, i.e. he's not as popular. He should be more popular than the office boy, and it's bad also for the office boy.
OK, Team Putin now. Based on this week's polls, what's higher? The percentage of people who think Scott Morrison should be the Liberal leader or men who've tried sadism and masochism in the last year?
Yeah, I think those 2 Venn diagrams would overlap quite a bit.
I reckon sadomasochism. Like, people are reasonable...
So you'd rather put your nipples in a clamp?
I don't know if Chris was in the survey.
That's actually...
Continue the question. Let's go sadomasochism.
Sadomasochism, lock it in. Let's see. That is right. Well done. Sadism is more popular than Scott Morrison, but only just...
You know, 2% isn't much support for Scott Morrison in the poll, but it's a lot more support than Scott Morrison has in the Channel 9 newsroom. Just have a look at this headshot that the graphics guys chose to illustrate Scott Morrison.
He's Scott Morrison.
he also uses that on his, like, election poster. That's not just the... Yeah.
The winner in that poll was actually Julie Bishop. Fairfax pegged her leadership support at 20%, not to mention her being named the Harper's Bazaar Woman of the Year. That's Harper's Bazaar, not the Harper's Bazaar Woman of the Year. Very confusing. But Rebecca, out of those, which is going to kind of be the best for her profile or cut through?
Look, there's this orthodoxy that if you, as a leader, as somebody has leadership aspirations, that you should do something in the, Women's Weekly. That didn't work for good Julie Gillard so well. I think that that approval...
Her party crumbling around her was a factor as well, I felt.
You don't think? You don't think it was just the knitting?
Yeah. And all the policies.
I think the
whole thing actually was a real big shitstorm now that I've heard it. And it went for went for a long time. Anyway.
Last week, independent South Australian Senator Nick Xenophon joined the circus, and he was the highest-ranked politician in a poll earlier this year. Do you know what that poll was?
Oh, I know. Number of X's in a politician's name.
Most popular independent? Was it? No.
It was close. It was the...
Most trusted?
It was the most trusted. It was the most trusted overall, and he was the most trusted politician in that, which still only got him to the position of number 68 in the Reader's Digest Most Trusted People poll for 2014. The person that's hard done by this poll was Rolf Harris. As if prison wasn't bad enough, he's officially trusted as much as Clive Palmer.
How did Chappelle Colby make the list? And
this is the other thing about this list is that
they give him 100
They give them a set number of names. It's not like they said, who's the most trusted person? They went, probably Chappelle Colby, I guess.
Craig, I'm not going to have you dissing this poll. It's completely legit. Like, just have a look at this. Look at number 38, Curtis Stone, more trusted than number 44, the Commissioner of the Australian Federal Police. This is 100% legit, Craig.
So at the end of this round, the winner is Team Australia. Congratulations. You win this framed portrait of Jeffrey Ellison, the man that the Reader's Digest found to be the 96th most trusted person in Australia. Also, presumably one of the old masturbators, I think. There
you go. Great Mysteries Explained.
A man has been explaining what looks like the ultimate in thrill-seeking and madness, riding on the carcass of a humpback whale just off the WA coast. Even it was being devoured by sharks.
Why would a man do such a thing? Now at last, the man himself explains the amazing truth.
Out on the boat with the boys, and one of my mates said it would be pretty funny if you surf the whale, so just did it.
Another mystery explained.
Round 4.
This week we were saddened to learn that this program has been criticised by one of the ABC's greatest supporters, Andrew Bolt. Apparently Andrew reckons that we don't mock ISIS enough. And on the Bolt Report this week, he even revisited this issue.
Where should our laughter really be directed?
Well, I think our laughter should be directed back the other way. It's always been one of the great tools to fight back against a seemingly more powerful enemy. We all remember the theme music from Dad's Army. Who do you think you are kidding, Mr. Hitler?
Bolt is right. Jokes about ISIS are hard to find on this show, especially if you don't watch it. And we're more than happy to follow his suggestions for where our laughter should be directed. So let's play Let's Mock ISIS. All right, the game is simple. Each team takes it in turn to mock the Islamic State, and we're just going to keep going until, I don't know, Andrew Bolt withdraws all his criticisms of the ABC or until this becomes an Islamic caliphate, whichever comes first. Your time starts now.
Yo, ISIS, those robes you're wearing are pretty fashionable. Said someone in the 12th century.
Your hipster beards are lame.
Nice head.
Hey, ISIS, you call that a flag? I've seen Ken Dunduna covers designed better than that.
Yo, ISIS, you've got a girl's name, so why don't you just call yourself Marjorie or Susan?
Hey, ISIS, do you know it is? It's you.
Hey, ISIS, 2013 called and they want their guns back. But seriously, can we get our guns back?
Yo, ISIS, you're in crisis. You can't sit with us because, well, you're not the nicest.
Beat poetry. Love it.
Hey, ISIS, I've got a pen and a piece of paper in my pocket, and if you don't pull your head in, I'll draw a picture of Muhammad and just show it to you. You'll go crazy.
Oh, well done. Congratulations. ISIS has been defeated by those disses. The winner of that was...
Andrew Bolt.
The winner of that, Team Australia again. Yeah, well done. You get plane tickets so that you can deliver those jokes in Syria live to ISIS. Good luck with that gig. And congratulations, that brings us to the end of the show. And, of course, the winners, as with every week, Team Australia. Thank you. Good night. Thanks for joining us in the Media Circus. We'll see you next week.